Hi guys, we just wanted to record a video for you guys because we miss you all a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, even though we can't meet together in person, we still want to talk with you guys and yeah, share some things. We have a new member, Harry. He will sleep through this whole thing probably, but yeah, we hope you guys are all doing good, and we miss seeing you each week.
Yeah, can't wait to get back to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of boring without you guys.
But yeah, we wanted to share a verse with you guys and some questions and stuff. But yeah, we'll post this and send it out to you guys, and then if you want to share it with anybody, you're welcome to. If you want to record your own video response to it,
Please do.
totally can do that, or text us or comment on the video, whatever you want to do, or ignore it totally. But here's the verse if you want to go to it. It's Philippians 4:6-7.
It says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus."
So both William and I we were just praying about this before. We're both struggling with our own anxieties during this time. And I would imagine that some of you guys are too. Just with a lot of uncertainty and school being closed for some of you that are in public school. And just like lots of things changing and being up in the air, and lots of crazy stuff that has caused most people I've talked to anxiety. So yeah, we just wanted to read you guys what God says about anxiety, because I think that's important.
Yeah, I think it's really important to recognize that there are things that cause anxiety, and that it's not necessarily the first emotion. I guess there are things underneath anxiety that kind of lead to it, and those are different than anxiety specifically. So some of the things that we were talking about is how the fear of the unknown, or that uncertainty, not really knowing what's going to happen next, or how that's going to play out, that fear is different than anxiety, but it can lead to anxiety if we let it control us.
Yeah, so there's anxiety is different than emotions that God has given us, like fear or worry or things like that, and those are all warning signs that God has put in place in us, and things that He's given us that aren't a mistake. They're purposeful, and they're good feelings to feel, even though they don't feel good all the time. But they are there for a reason, and they're there to warn us of danger, or draw our attention to something that maybe we are missing, or direct our focus to something. So those can be really valuable things that God has given us as a tool. But kind of like what Will was saying, when we don't take those things to God or bring them in the light of His Word, those things can turn into anxiety, and we can give them power in our own minds and in our own hearts, and they can start to be what we base our decisions and our thoughts on, and that's where that fear or that worry turns into anxiety, when it starts to rule our thoughts and our hearts, and what we decide to do, and when we act out of that fear, it is that anxiety, which we aren't called to live in. God has given us freedom from anxiety. Like that verse says, we get to talk to Him about that.
Yeah, so it says, do not be anxious about anything, But then it gives us sort of this idea of what we can do instead. And it says actually very specifically, it says, but in every situation, so no matter what it is, if it is fear or worry or embarrassment, things like that can cause anxiety, he says, in every situation, by prayer and petition. And that's just asking God for what you need. God, help me not to be afraid in this moment, or help me to understand why I'm afraid. Help me to think differently about a situation. Those are asking God for what you need. And sometimes that's just, God, I need you to just comfort me or to protect me in this situation. Yeah. And so he says, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving. Always, we talk about it a lot, but it talks about it a lot in the Bible, is that we just thanking God for all that he does. God, please protect me, but thank you that you do protect me. He does, and he does those things. So it says, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. So that's that same idea.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, God's kind of remedy, in simple terms, for anxiety is a conversation with him. Yeah. He wants to talk to us about that. He wants us to bring those to him because he wants to hear about them. He wants to know our anxieties and our worries and our fears, and he wants to know how we're feeling and what we're experiencing, because in the end he wants to know us and he wants to know who we are, and those emotions are part of that. And his remedy is a relationship with him, because that's what he seeks. He seeks to have conversation with us, and he seeks to know us and for us to know him, because he knows that that is the best thing for each of us, because each of those things that we're worried about and each of those spaces where we're searching for things are all fulfilled in him and in his love and his strength and his power and protection and all of these things that provide comfort in those worries.
Yeah, and it's not to say that he's necessarily going to take away maybe the fear or the worry that we're feeling, or to suddenly magically everything's going to disappear, all of those thoughts or the situations. I mean, situations are still happening, but he is going to be there with us. And so when he talks about in the next verse, it says, and the peace of God, which transcends or goes beyond what we could even imagine, right, or all understanding, it says, will guard your hearts and mind in Christ Jesus. And that is having the hope and remembering that this life is temporary, that God is with us and that he's already won, and that he's just sitting here with us and he's in that moment. And so he says he's not going to really take the situation away sometimes, or not going to just, things aren't just going to end magically. I mean, we're talking about right now in this time and the things going on with coronavirus, it's not just going to end just because we're like, God, really, we need you to end this right this second. I mean,
it might.
And it might. But it doesn't necessarily have to. He says the peace is going to protect you. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily protect you from the virus, but protect you from worry, from anxiety, and say, hey, like, this worry might be here, you might be afraid of it, and it's still going on around you, but the peace of God is going to protect you from being consumed by that anxiety that causes us to lash out in different ways, or for us to feel crippled almost.
Yeah.
And we can be different in that situation.
And actually, really quick, I want to share a different verse too.
Oh.
It's all good. I know. So this is one that has actually really helped me. Where the heck's Nehemiah?
Not in the New Testament.
There it is. I know. Okay. So it's Nehemiah 6, right? Yeah. 6, 3. So you guys might not know the story. Basically, this guy is going to rebuild a wall, and he brings this whole people group together to rebuild this wall, and there's a huge story that's like way simplified, but so he's building this wall, and some guys are like, hey, Nehemiah, come down, we have some stuff to talk to you about, we want to have a meeting with you. And this is Nehemiah's response. And for me, this is what I've kind of taken on as my own response to the anxiety that I've been feeling, or the fear, I guess, because it has turned into anxiety, so you can either kind of stop it before it turns into that, but this has been a really good response, just that I've been kind of repeating in my own head when those thoughts start to take place. But here it is. I am doing important work and cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? So, and I say this over and over when those thoughts start to kind of spiral. I'm like, no, why would I come down into anxiety or into fear or into shame or into blah, 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 all these millions of things? Why would I come down when God has called me to this? He's called me to this purpose where I'm at now, and I'm not going to come down into this because he's given me freedom from it. So no, I'm not going to stop the work that he's called me to do to come down into these unimportant things that he's given me freedom from, because I'm here and I'm staying here.
Yeah.
And so that's been really helpful for me to just kind of repeat and stop those things in their tracks. And it's been a good tool to take my thoughts captive and bring some of God's truth into it. So I don't know if you guys have other verses that help you with that, or different things that help you when you are struggling with thoughts that just kind of spiral. If you want to share those, that'd be super cool. That's one of mine. And then we have a couple questions that we wanted, that William and I are going to be thinking about this week, and just kind of trying to answer on our own, and we want you guys to think about them too.
So first question is, what are some things that you feel anxious about regularly? Let's talk about outside of necessarily the coronavirus and this all scare, but like the things that happen on your regular days. What do you feel anxious about sometimes?
Something that just kind of keeps coming back and seems to really cause you anxiety pretty consistently. And
we can talk about those things, so I'd love to hear. And then second question is, what do you struggle to bring to God in prayer? So we're talking about how when we feel anxiety or when we feel like things are out of control, which really is what anxiety is, it's fear out of control almost. So what do you struggle to bring to God? It says, what is, when you feel those things, we need to bring them to God. So what do you...
Maybe it's anger, or maybe it's disappointment or embarrassment, or I don't know. Those are things that I struggle with, but just what's something that bringing to God is not your knee-jerk reaction, that you kind of like, ooh, I don't want to bring that one to him.
I think there's a third question I want to add, just based on what you read in Nehemiah, this idea of, he says, I'm too busy and there's too many things to go on. That's not necessarily busy. He says, but I am
doing what God's
I'm doing what God's called me to do, and I can't come down. It's funny that the valley is called Oh No, right?
The valley that they want to have the meeting in is called the Valley of Oh No.
Yeah, so really funny. But so it's like, oh no. But what is that thing that you feel like you are supposed to be doing, that you could say, this is what I'm doing, I'm not coming down. Like, I'm not going to let myself go into that valley. What is that thing that you feel God has like put you, I don't know, not in charge of, but has called you to do?
Yeah. But that is all. We love you guys a lot,
We do.
and we miss your faces
Yes.
and your thoughts, because they're always super good.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
I'm not learning nearly as much as I used to when I was around you guys.
Yeah, but we love you guys a lot, and you are in our prayers and our thoughts constantly, and we hope you guys are all enjoying your break from school / homeschool. But,
Yeah.
yep.
Bye.
Bye. Harry says bye.